It's summer, it's hot, and you've got questions about your C5's cooling system.
Toys for life.
By far the most common question I get is, what's the normal operating temperature for the C5 Corvette? And the answer is a pretty wide range that might surprise you. It's 190 degrees all the way to 230. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking toys for life. That seems awfully hot. Can you prove it? Why, yes, I can prove it. Take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and open up HP Tuners. From there, I'm going to open up a stock 2003 Corvette file. And you can see in the general fans section, fan number 1 turns on at 226, off at 219. Fan number 2 goes on at 235 and shuts off at 227. So this is the way GM intended it, folks. The next most common question is, should I install a cooler 160 degree thermostat? The answer is no, for 2 reasons. First, when switching to a 160 degree thermostat from approximately a stock 187 degree thermostat, it won't really do anything for a street-driven engine, except it'll take a little bit longer for the coolant temperature to get to 190 degrees. Once you get to approximately 195 degrees, both the 160 and the 187 will behave about exactly the same. Second, for colder weather, if you're driving more than 30 miles per hour, the temperature of the coolant will probably stay somewhere between 160 and 180, which doesn't allow for the moisture to properly evaporate from the engine oil. And secondly, engines are designed with expansion in mind and tolerances, so you won't have the proper clearances between the aluminum pistons and the steel sleeve liners, as well as crank bearings and crank journals. For drag racing purposes, a lot of times an engine will make more horsepower if the coolant temperature is somewhere around 150, 160 degrees, because that is contributing to cooler, denser air intake, which makes more horsepower. Just keep in mind you're stressing that motor out at cooler temperatures outside of the design parameters for that piston expansion and those bearings and crank expansion as well. That could be a bad thing. So what can you do to improve your C5's cooling system performance? Well, C5s are 20 years old now, and that's a lot of time for dirt, bugs, and all kinds of other garbage to get inside and clog up your AC condenser and your radiator, because it is fed from down low. So if you haven't done so recently, remove your fan shroud assembly, and using compressed air and an appropriate tool, make sure you blow out everything you can from the engine bay forward through the radiator and AC condenser. Here's a little footage of when I did mine about a year or so ago. So now that my radiator is clean, is it a good idea to lower my fan on and off temps? And if so, what's the best way to do that? So GM sets the fans on the relatively high side for a couple of reasons. One, to keep the oil hot enough to evaporate any moisture. 2, to optimize emissions. And 3, to prevent premature fan wear. Now, as C5 Corvette enthusiasts, we don't exactly have the same set of concerns as the factory GM engineers. So I like to set my fans at 203 for the low fan and 208 for the high fan. And what this does is it gives a lot lower under hood temperatures, which also decreases the air intake temperatures, freeing up a few more horsepower. If you decide to alter your cooling fan temperatures, you've got a few options available to you. You can use HP tuners to do it yourself, or you can look for a reputable local tuner. There's also aftermarket fan controllers, which allow you to mechanically control the temperature of the fan. And some people like to do a hot wire method where they hot wire the low fan on for track events so it's on the whole time. And then when they leave, they pull the hot wire so that the fan runs as normal. However you decide to do it, a quick Google search. Should I go with an aftermarket radiator like DeWitt's for around $670? While I'm sure they're better than stock, and they clearly are a work of art, I'm not convinced that they're necessary for most people. What I can say firsthand for sure is that after 6 years of driving this C5 in the Midwest, I haven't had any cooling related issues whatsoever. In the past 2 years, it's been supercharged and I still haven't had any issues. But if I lived in the Southwest United States, I'm pretty sure there'd be a DeWitt's radiator under my hood. The next item to talk about will be changing your C5 coolant. What coolant to use and how do you go about changing it without getting any of those steam pockets that can cause all kinds of issues. Fortunately, my C5 is due for a coolant change now, and I'll be making a video of that soon. It's time to change the C5's coolant/antifreeze, so let's follow the procedure that I like to use, which I believe follows the GM procedure pretty closely. And by the way, my 2003 C5 owner's manual suggests changing the coolant every 60 months or 150,000 miles, whichever comes first, and that seems quite reasonable to me. Now, even though my C5 is supercharged, the radiator and the hoses are completely stock, so the procedure that we're gonna follow will likely apply to your C5 as well. Also, because we're gonna spend the time, energy, and money to go ahead and drain and refill the cooling system, it just makes sense to properly check out the hoses to make sure they're all in good shape, because it would absolutely suck to blow a hose out on the freeway 2 weeks after we're done with this process. Talking about cooling system hoses in our 20-plus-year-old car can get a bit murky because everybody wants to know, how long do radiator hoses last? The correct answer is nobody knows for sure. The ballpark answer is 8 to 12 years, sometimes more, sometimes a bit less. For my personal vehicles, I like to pressurize the system right before I'm going to change the fluid. I do that with a pressure checker. That way I can look for leaks and I can inspect all of the hoses while they're at the full pressure they would see during normal operation. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Step 1 is a caution. Do not remove your surge tank cap if your coolant is above 210 degrees, as verified by your gauges. The coolant could be under pressure, and by removing that cap, you could release the pressure, and that could cause the fluid to immediately boil, causing you to be burned. And as a distant second to being burned, it can also make a big mess. Step 2 is another caution. If you do not drain and refill the cooling system properly, once put back into service, you could damage your engine. So make sure you do this correctly. Step 3, don't mix and match different types, not brands, but types of coolant. Your C5 came originally with Dexcool, and that's what I recommend because it's compatible with the components in your cooling system that it'll come into contact with. One more thing to think about, like I said, our C5s are 25 years old and some of them have an unknown history. If you suspect that somewhere along the line somebody may have swapped in a different type of fluid other than Dexcool, you may want to go through this process twice. One time with water and then a second time with 50% water and 50% Dexcool. Step 4, park your C5 on a level surface and get it up off the ground on either a lift or jack stands. If you're not sure about how to do this, check your owner's manual for the right lifting points and then take a look at this video. Step number 5, go ahead with the engine cool and remove the surge tank cap. If you're going to follow my advice and pressurize the system so you can inspect the hoses while they're under pressure, go ahead and connect the adapter and the pressure checker to the surge tank and pressurize it to the correct PSI for your C5. If in doubt, go with 15 pounds per square inch. Next, you want to look for any obvious signs of leaks by coolant hitting the ground, and then listen carefully for the hissing sound of any smaller leaks. Then go ahead and inspect all of the hoses both above and underneath the car for signs of cracking, deterioration, abrasion, bulging, or anything else that looks abnormal, and replace any suspect hoses. If you don't have a cooling system pressure checker, I would consider buying one. They're very useful for this process, and also if you suspect a leak in any of your other cars, this is a handy tool to pressurize the system to try to figure out where the coolant is leaking from. That having been said, it is definitely still worth inspecting the hoses on your C5 before replacing the fluid. Some of the signs of deterioration like cracks and abrasion will still be noticeable. If you find a defective hose or you decide to just go ahead and replace all of your hoses, be sure to use name brand hoses like Gates or AC Delco. This is one area you don't want to look for the cheapest product. Step number 6, go ahead and remove the pressure checker and put the surge cap back on, but do not tighten it all the way. Step number 7, place a clean drain bucket under the radiator drain valve. Make sure it's capable of holding about 10 quarts. Step number 8, start your C5 and let it warm up to 200 to 205 degrees as confirmed by your instrument cluster. This will open the thermostat so that we can drain a little over 9 quarts of coolant out. If you drain the coolant while the temperature is lower than the thermostat opening temperature, you'll only be able to get out 3 to 4 quarts of coolant. Warning, antifreeze is poisonous. Breathing in too many fumes can be dangerous or deadly. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Loosen the drain plug by turning it 1/4 turn counterclockwise with a 1/4 inch drive socket extension. You may need to grab the plug gently with the pliers and jiggle it while you pull on it a little bit to get the fluid to start coming out. Take a little break, you've earned it, while you wait for the coolant to drain into your bucket. Go ahead and inspect the coolant that's inside your clean bucket. If it's a real funky color or has all kinds of particles suspended in it, you may want to flush your system by finishing this process with just plain water and then redraining and completing the process a second time, this time with 50% Dexcool and 50% water. If your coolant appears to be normal and there's not a lot of little particles, then I would just continue on with the next step. Step 9, close the radiator drain plug by turning it clockwise 1/4 turn. Step 10, refill the cooling system through the surge tank with a mix of 50% water and 50% Dexcool, being sure to fill it right up to the full cold line. I removed exactly 9.1 quarts of old fluid, so now I have a very good idea of how much new fluid needs to go back in. For the water portion, I use drinkable water, which is what I believe the Bowling Green Corvette plant used when they filled our C5s at the factory. This is a topic of much debate. If you prefer to use distilled or non-ionized water, that is your choice. Step 11, start the engine and let it idle for 1 minute. Step 12, install the surge tank cap. Step 13, vary the engine RPMs from idle to 3000 RPMs in 30-second intervals until the coolant temperature reaches 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 14, shut off the engine and carefully remove the surge tank cap. Step 15, start the engine. Step 16, allow the engine to idle for 1 minute, then fill the surge tank to 1/2 inch above the full cold mark on the side of the tank. Step 17, install the surge tank cap. Step 18, once again cycle the engine RPMs from idle to 3000 RPMs in 30-second intervals until the coolant reaches 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Step number 19, shut off the engine and remove the surge tank cap. And step number 20, once again top off the coolant in the surge tank if needed and bring it to about 1/2 inch above that full cold mark. Step number 21, reinstall the surge tank cap and tighten it, and this is where most people call the project done. However, I think we can do much better, and it only takes a few more minutes. Our LS engines have steam ports that are located at the front of each cylinder head. They're connected by a tube which leads to the throttle body that helps prevent it from icing up in cold weather, and then it exits the throttle body and heads directly to the radiator, and ultimately that goes to the surge tank. The purpose of the steam ports is to act as a high point on the engine for the cooling system, and since air always rises to the top when it's in liquid, the ports help to remove any steam or air from the engine. The LS engine in the C5 sits pretty close to level, and air of course does rise to the highest part, and hopefully the movement of the coolant through the system helps to remove that air into the throttle body, to the radiator, and ultimately to the surge tank. However, if there happens to be any air or steam trapped and left inside the engine, that can create hot spots, and that's a really bad thing. So I like to offer the air a little bit of extra encouragement to leave, and I do this by driving the front of the C5 up onto ramps, which allows gravity to help us to get rid of the air. So as the final step, now that the front of the C5 is up on ramps, you can clearly see that the front of the engine and the steam ports are the highest point in the engine's part of the cooling system. And I just like to bring the engine coolant temperature one more time up to 210 degrees or so by varying the RPMs from idle to 3000 RPMs. Now I'm satisfied and I officially call the C5's coolant antifreeze change complete. That's going to do it for this one, guys. If you learned anything, tap that thumbs up below and leave a comment, subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and most of all, thanks for watching.